It has been well over a year since we saw our previous Takuma Shoten game. They're the magazine publisher who got into making Famicom games, and were the ones dumb enough to release Ghostbusters on the Famicom. They were a very slow publisher, releasing 10 games across 8 years. So they'll be with us a while, but they're at the very bottom of what I would call the second tier of Famicom publishers. And for some reason, the game that brought them back to the platform was Captain Silver. Captain Silver was originally an arcade game, and it's all but forgotten. Mainly because it wasn't very good. For some reason, Sega got their hands on it and made a Master System port. And the notable thing there is that the US version had half the game stripped out. The Famicom version of Captain Silver never got a US release, though I suspect they were angling for one. Nintendo had an exclusivity requirement for games licensed on the NES, so while the Master System had a Captain Silver, the NES could have a Captain Silver if it was a completely different game. And the Famicom version of Captain Silver is a completely different game. For the Famicom version, here's how the story goes. We find out about a treasure in the Grand Line, there's no doubt. The pirate whose eye is on it, he'll sing, "I'll be king of the pirates, I'm gonna be king." Okay, actually the game resembles a different pirate comedy, since you're a wannabe pirate who's fighting a ghost pirate. There are 6 stages of spectral swashbuckling in Captain Silver. Most of them are broken up into multiple parts. Dying will send you back to the start of the part that you were in, and the same is true of continuing. That said, some of these parts can be pretty long. Hitting the A button jumps, and the B button swings your sword. A quirk in Captain Silver is that your sword swing can be pretty fast. So if you mash the B button really hard, you can catch some enemies. In shops you can buy power-ups to your attack, and there's 2 different styles. The first gives you a projectile, while the arrow icons change how that projectile behaves. Hitting the start button brings up this menu where you change what you have equipped. Basically, each power-up is a little bit stronger than the previous one, while the arrows give you different paths. I went with a triple shot that could hit low enemies without having to duck, but I probably should have gone with the upward shot. You'll find doors other than shops in stages. I don't recommend that you enter them. Inside those doors you'll find 2 different characters, either Otasuka Aoba or Ojama Baba, and they look very similar. Otasuka will give you advice and might heal you, while Ojama will mock you and take half your life. Which one is behind the door is always consistent, at least. So you could memorize where all of the healing spots are, but I also found that they weren't really needed. The thing is, Captain Silver is not a very difficult game. At least, not difficult once you've got a feel for it. This is one of those games that just tosses out a lot of unavoidable attacks at you, and if you know that they're coming, you're fine. But if you don't, then you just have to soak up the hit. The time limit on every stage is really tight as well. If you stop to try to grind up some points, you're going to run out of time. Collecting this clock will freeze that timer for a short period, but don't dilly-dally. The reason why you might want to stop and collect some points is that points are the currency that you spend in shops, and there really aren't enough points for you to get everything. In fact, if you have to continue, then you might have some trouble collecting the final items. Other power-ups you can find just walking around the stages are these shoes that let you jump higher, this knife that increases your attack until you get hit once, or hearts to refill some of your life. At the end of every stage there are bosses, but I quickly learned something important about them. They can't go all the way to the left. So just stand back and fire away, especially if you have a ranged attack equipped. This boss can still get you with its 3-way projectiles, and this one spits out rocks that you have to hit. But sticking to the left is still really effective against the other bosses. The first stage takes place in this town where there's not even platforming. I like how it goes from night to day behind this building. If you're going to do that, guys, the building has to be long enough that you can't see both sides of it. Stage 2 puts you on a pirate ship. This is actually a bit of a maze, though it's not too hard to find your way through. Once you're below decks, you can smash the barrels and sometimes they'll contain power-ups. Stage 3 has you riding this raft into a cavern. It's actually a pretty short stage, it's just you have to wait around on that raft for a while. Stage 4 has you exploring an island and searching a temple, while level 5 has you do some platforming up a mountain and across a waterfall. I know one good secret here for you. On level 1, you can go down this chimney and collect a lot of cash. That's useful for getting those early power-ups. When you complete a stage, there's a chance for bonus points as well, but one chest has points, the other has the witch. At the time of release, Captain Silver was not well received. It got some really low scores in game magazines. And today, it's still pretty hated by Japanese players. I actually think that they're overly harsh on this one. Captain Silver is not a good game, but it's also not a game so bad that I feel the need to rage at it. It's just mediocre. Playable if you have nothing else to do, but not something that will stick in your head otherwise. Which, come to think of it, is why I have a copy of the Master System game. I keep confusing Captain Silver with the other mediocre pirate arcade game, Skull and Crossbones. And that's Captain Silver for you. A game so generic and boring, I can't keep it straight with another generic boring game.